120, copy. $40. $30. $20. Believe me, Robbie Alangkay, the big stories tonight. The PNP sacked one of its station commanders in Manila after huge crowds gathered over the weekend to see firsthand the man-made beach along Manila Bay. The health department expresses alarm over officials' failure to enforce physical distancing. After months of tussling with government, more healthcare workers will now be allowed to push ahead with their deployment overseas. Those with complete documents as of August will be allowed to leave. It is a showdown looming in Congress. Those involved in the latest squabble in the lower house deny plotting a coup. Palace is distancing itself from a leadership row. 48 years after the declaration of martial law, human rights groups fear the country is once again on the cusp of authoritarian rule. And in what may be a preview of future award ceremonies, the Emmys go virtual with what they're dubbing the Pandemmys. The big winners later on in the show. We begin tonight with the still controversial white sand beach along Manila Bay, which drew huge crowds over the weekend during its opening. While the public enjoyed man-made beach, authorities were dismayed over the poor implementation of distancing protocols. Justine Punsalang has the big story.
People from and outside the National Capital Region flocked to Baywalk in Manila as early as 5 in the morning on Sunday to see the controversial white sand beach. The queue stretched as far as Vito Cruz. But this did not stop curious onlookers to brave the heat and the distance just to have their pictures taken by the man-made beach.
Dati po kasi nung napunta ako dito, napakarumi ng Tapos ngayon, talaga ako. Kasi napakaganda ngayon.
Gusto rin namin makaisyoso Ayos lang, at least maganda kumpara sa basura.
Shaira Bondok and her cousins came all the way from Tarlac just to see the new look in a small portion of Manila Bay.
Kanina pa po kaming 9 dito Sulit po, sobrang ganda.
Health protocols were in place, like temperature check, hand disinfection, and wearing of face masks. Access to the area was limited to 70 people per batch, with each group allotted only 5 minutes for exploration. But PNP Chief Camilo Cascolan was not happy about the poor implementation of physical distancing and other health protocols, prompting him to relieve Ermita Police Station Chief Police Lieutenant Colonel Ariel Caramoan.
I'd like to be frank. It's not, hindi lang po police ang may kasalanan dito, lahat po tayo. Di ba? Dapat matuto tayo. Sa amin pong kapulisan, sinabi nga ho namin sa iyo, we always follow the rule of law. And when we follow the rule of law, we have no choice. It's command responsibility. Dapat hindi na-relieve yung aming kapulisan kung ginawa namin ang tama.
Kinabukasan, nakita nga natin talagang grabe ang violation. Tumakbo doon si General Miranda, kasama yung kanyang ibang mga tao at naayos nila. Ibig sabihin, pwede naman palang ayusin. So it could be prevented. So nagkulang ng initiative ang station commander to do that.
Even the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, which spearheaded the project, advises the public against physically visiting the man-made beach for now.
I would like to encourage everybody to stay home and just watch it on TV na darating naman ng araw matatapos po yan.
For News 5, Justine Punsalang. We are One News.
Still on that story, the health department has expressed concern and sounded alarm that those who gathered in Manila Bay may be at risk of infection. JC Cosico with the story.
The health department has expressed alarm after people flocked to Ross Boulevard over the weekend to take a look at Manila Bay's artificial white sand. Photos and videos online show that health measures such as physical distancing were not observed.
Ito po ay isang nakakabahalang sitwasyon, no? Alam po natin lahat na hindi pa po nawawala ang virus dito sa atin. Kung meron ay mga proyektong ganito, ito po ay maganda at kahanga-hanga, ngunit kailangan pa rin po natin i-enforce ang minimum health standards.
Vergere noted, however, that the Manila City government and the Antierror Department were quick to respond on the matter. The health official also confirmed that the Interior Department has launched an investigation against a group of medical practitioners. Last week, the concerned doctors and citizens of the Philippines held a Flatten the Fear campaign in Pasig City. Some attendees were seen not wearing face masks, saying they have already undergone COVID-19 prophylaxis. In the same event, they also called on the government to lift the imposed lockdowns.
Sa ngayon, kung ano po ang pwede nating, kung ano ang lumabas doon sa findings nila, necessary sanctions will be meted out. Unang-una po, alam po natin, bawal yun. Wala pa po tayong pinapayagan na mass gatherings.
Meanwhile, the DOH has submitted to Malacanang its recommendation to issue an executive order that will regulate the cost of COVID-19 swab testing.
Napansin na nga po natin itong mga iba't iba, differential pricing across the different laboratories in the country. And nakikita nga rin po natin yung malaking difference.
Some lawmakers earlier called on the government to have uniform swab test costs amid its varying prices.
Gusto lang ho namin sabihin, bakit ba executive order ang hinihingi natin? Kasi ngayon, meron ho tayong batas. Ito pong batas na ito, nakasaad po dyan yung price ceiling for medicines. Pero hindi po nakasama kasi yung for diagnostics and even professional fees.
The agency also cautioned against the use of ultraviolet light for disinfection purposes. Vergere explained that there is no sufficient evidence yet that it can eradicate SARS-CoV-2. It can be recalled that a demonstration of a UV light robot in Baguio City left a number of people with eye irritation.
Katulad ng sabi ko nung isang linggo, ito ay maaaring maka-apekto sa ating mga mata and can even dun po sa severe na exposure, maaaring masira yung cornea ng mata ng isang tao. Pangalawa, maaaring makasunog din ang balat, Pangatlo, meron din ho siyang effect sa respiratory system.
The DOH advised the public to use it in a proper manner, with guidance from experts. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
More Filipino health workers are now allowed to leave for work abroad. Malacanang says healthcare workers with complete overseas employment documents as of August 31 will be permitted to fly overseas. That's expected to benefit some 1,500 workers. The government had suspended the employment of health professionals in April to beef up the country's manpower to the pandemic. Those with existing employment contracts as of March 8 were eventually allowed to leave.
Yung mga meron na pong mga papeles at kompletong documentation as of August 31, 2020, pinayagan na po ni Presidente na makaalis para sa kanilang trabaho abroad. Sa ngayon po kay Secretary Dole Secretary, ito po ay mga makikinabang po ang 1,500 nurses.
President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to address the country tonight from his hometown, Davao. But after that, he is expected to speak before the United Nations tomorrow at the 75th session of the General Assembly. Chief Protocol and Presidential Assistant on Secretary Gordon Borge says this is the first time that the President will address the UN General Assembly, where all 190 member states will be represented. It will be done virtually for the first time. According to Borge, this is of historic significance as it also marks the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. The assembly will last until September 26. It will be presided over by UN President Volkan Bozkir from Turkey.
This will be the President's first time to address the UN General Assembly. The session's theme is the future we want, the United Nations we need, reaffirming our collective commitment to multilateralism, confronting COVID-19 through effective multilateral action.
We'll pause for a short break, but when the big story returns, another showdown is shaping up in Congress just a few weeks before a term-sharing agreement is meant to be implemented. And 2 more petitions were filed against the anti-terror law that brings the total challenges to 35. Details when we return. Welcome back. I'm Robbie Alampay. You're watching The Big Story. The palace says President Duterte will not meddle in the ongoing dispute regarding the House leadership as long as lawmakers pass the 2021 budget on time. Some lawmakers are alleging the showdown is rooted in the searching for House speakers. Marian Enrique.
Presidential son and Deputy Speaker Paulo Duterte allegedly warned to declare as vacant the positions of House Speaker and Deputy Speakers amid some complaints of inequitable shares among districts in the proposed 2021 budget. In a statement, Congressman Duterte confirmed expressing his dismay on the disparity in infrastructure budget. This issue stemmed from the badgering of Negros Oriental 3rd District Representative Arnolfo Arnie Teves Jr. on the distribution of funds to congressional districts under the DPWH next year. He cited rumors alleging that Taguig City will get an 8 billion peso share, while Camsur Province will receive 11.8 billion pesos from the DPWH. Committee on Appropriations Chair Eric Yap clarified that Representative Duterte never said he would overthrow House Speaker Cayetano.
Ang sinabi lang niya kay Kong Arnie, kung may problema ka kay Speaker, hindi ka masaya kay Speaker, bakit hindi mo ipa-declare ng vacant yung position ni Speaker at saka Deputy Speaker ng vacant at i-elect mo yung sarili mo para makuha mo yung gusto mo.
Deputy Speaker Duterte added that he wants no involvement with the budget and that it's up to his colleagues if a change in leadership will push through. Something that he is willing to accept. But Yap assures no coup will take place and that Speaker Cayetano and Duterte have already sorted things out.
Yung mga lawmakers, ma'am, iniisip namin what is best for our constituents. So kung ngayon po magkakagulo-gulo, taong bayan ang kawawa. Kaya kailangan matapos namin yung budget briefing.
Camarines Sur 2nd District Representative Congressman El Rey Villafuerte has accused Teves of conniving with former Negros Oriental Representative Alfredo Abelardo Benitez to botch the swift passage of the 2021 budget under Speaker Cayetano. He said this is a plot hatched by the camp of Marinduque Representative Lord Alan Velasco, who is supposed to replace Cayetano by October or early November under a term-sharing deal brokered by the President.
Mali yung insinuation ni Congressman Teves. In fact, kinonfront ko nga siya doon sa plenary. Ano ba yung sinasabi mo? Na 11.8 billion sa Camarines. So sabi niya, narinig lang raw niya. So sabi ko, sa'yo na rin nanggaling, hearsay yan. Patunayan mo. Then nag-post siya doon sa block na 7.5 lang raw sa Camarines Sur.
Villafuerte added that their province has 5 districts and that there are national flagship projects in their province, warranting a bigger allocation.
Yung tinatawag na Camsur Expressway, saka yung Pasakaw-Balatan Tourism Highway, meaning national flagship project yon. That's not a local project.
But Benitez said in a statement that Villafuerte's accusations are totally baseless and are mere figments of his overactive and defensive imagination. Benitez also challenged Villafuerte to explain their 420 million peso provincial capital that will be shouldered by the national government. Both Congressman Yap and Villafuerte said that majority of lawmakers support Cayetano as Speaker of the House until his term ends, but said they will heed the President's call if he wants to push through with a term-sharing deal. The palace has meanwhile distanced itself from the House leadership route. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the President is leaving the decision on leadership changes with members of Congress as long as this will not get in the way of passing the 2021 national budget. For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
Senators are now worried that the squabble in Congress might delay next year's spending plan. Senator Panfilo Lacson describes the disagreements as ugly. He says the lack of statesmanship diminishes the public respect for the legislature and its members. Senate President Tito Soto says it is unlikely for the President to interfere. Lawmakers are zeroing in on the lack of medicine program in some state colleges and universities. This as the Senate grilled the Commission on Higher Education for the 2020 budget. Senators are also questioning UP's plan to setting up a new PGH branch in its Diliman campus. Mendes Ban,
In Monday's Senate hearing on the budget of the Commission on Higher Education for state universities and colleges, senators questioned the absence of medicine programs in SUCs located in 10 regions. Just last week, the upper chamber passed on third reading the Doktor para sa Bayan Medical Scholarship Bill, which the lower house approved last month. And since it has yet to be passed into law, the bill's budget was not included in the 2021 General Appropriations Act. But just the same, Senator Joel Villanueva wondered why access to medical programs is left wanting in some regions.
NMAT takers were from CAR, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Central Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, Davao, Sorsogon, and Caraga. These 10 regions are the regions that have no SUCs offering the Doctor of Medicine program. Now, what we have we make of this data, half of the aspiring doctors in the Philippines have no access to affordable medical education.
SHED Chairman Prospero De Vera admits to various challenges, such as the need for strong feeder degrees or pre-med programs and training facilities.
There is a policy of one university, one training hospital, and a lot of our government hospitals are already being shared by both public and private universities.
De Vera disclosed the 3 provincial SUCs applying to offer medicine programs. These are the Western Mindanao State University in Zamboanga City, Cebu Normal University in Cebu City, and the University of Southeastern Philippines in Davao del Sur. This, says De Vera, would eat up at least 1 billion pesos in SHED's budget, which is already facing cuts as it is. De Vera also disclosed that Cebu Normal University has to ask permission from Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center to use their facilities so that they can offer a medicine program. Meanwhile, the University of the Philippines administration has been studying the feasibility of setting up UP Philippine General Hospital near its Diliman campus. Though this is not part of the 2021 budget bill, UP President Danilo Concepcion said they will need 9 billion pesos for its first phase alone. It will have 700 beds and will come with a College of Medicine and Cancer Research Center.
Madodoble natin halos ang dami ng estudyante natin sa College of Medicine. So ito po ay magandang preparation na rin for our next crisis.
But senators argued wouldn't be better to set up the new PGH branch in UP Los Baños or in Calabarzon. That, says the UP administration, is also on their drawing board. Senators also asked why some SUCs are allowing foreign students to enroll in their medicine programs. SHED said this was allowed by the Board of Regents in some SUCs. But Senator Franklin Drilon insists that there should be a provision in the 2021 GAA that will regulate or limit the entry of foreign students in SUCs. Reporting for News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
And here are the other big stories. Meralco has paid 90 million pesos in penalty imposed by the Energy Regulatory Commission for its billings during the early months of 2019. Meralco also filed for a motion for partial reconsideration on the regulatory body's order to provide a 1-month discount to Lifeline customers consuming 100 kilowatts per hour or less. Meralco will implement the discount in its October billing pending the decision of the Commission. Starting next Monday, the MMDA will close 13 turnstiles along EDSA to shorten travel time. The U-turns are found in Caloocan, Quezon City, Makati, and Pasay. The agency is advising motorists to plan their travels ahead of time and to take alternate routes. The Supreme Court has received 2 more petitions against the Anti-Terrorism Act that raises the total number of petitions questioning the controversial measure to 35. The 35th and late it was filed by various groups led by the Kilusan para sa Pambansang Demokrasya. The group was initially stopped from holding an assembly, but was later on allowed the observance of physical distancing. Let's pause for a quick break, and we come back. After 48 years, human rights groups fear that the country has not learned much from the declaration of martial law. And they put the glam in pajamas. Celebrities opted to go house chic in the first ever virtual event. You're back on the big talk. Never forget. It was the message of vice personalities who led today's protest to commemorate the 48th anniversary of the declaration of martial law, like a story.
Very Various human rights groups trooped to the Commission on Human Rights and the Bantayog na mga bayani in Quezon City to stage protests on the 48th anniversary of the declaration of martial law. Bayan Muna Chairman Nery Colmenares, who was imprisoned under the dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos, said he fears another despotic rule, this time with President Duterte as mastermind.
Si Marcos ay nangako na kaya siya nag-martial law para sa pagbabago, para tanggalin ang korupsyon, ang krimen, at ipamigay ang lupa sa mga magsasaka at trabaho para sa manggagawa. Ganun din ang ginawa ni Duterte.
Lawyer and former senatorial candidate Erin Tañada also pointed out the supposed similarities between the leadership styles of Marcos and Duterte.
Yung ginamit ni dating Pangulong Marcos, yung takot, fear, no? At yun yung ginagawa rin ng kasalukuyang administrasyon. Tinatakot niya yung mga mamamayan sa pamamagitan sa laban sa droga para hindi makita yung mga problemang hinaharap ng pangkaraniwang mamamayan. Yung usapin tungkol sa kahirapan na hanggang ngayon at lalong lumalala sa panahon ng pandemya.
Staunch Marcos critic and human rights lawyer Chel Jokno meanwhile reminded the Filipinos to never forget the atrocities done during the martial law.
Diyan na sa record natin yan eh. Nasa mga desisyon ng Korte Suprema, nandito sa bantayog ng mga bayani, at marami pang mga ebidensya kung paano nilabag ng mga Marcos ang mga karapatang pantao, kung paano nila ninakaw ang pera ng bayan. Kaya huwag tayong madadala dun sa mga sinasabi nilang napakaganda daw ng martial law ng panahon na yun.
Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Ilago echoed this.
Ang saysay ng kasaysayan ay para hindi na maulit muli ang mga nangyaring abuso noon, magpasa hanggang ngayon, at para sa susunod na mga henerasyon ng mga Pilipino.
The groups also called on the Duterte administration to stop the killings, especially among the urban poor. They proceeded to the UP Diliman to continue their protests. For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, we are One News.
While the president has decided to maintain the 1 meter distancing in public transport, operators admit that this distance might actually not be sustainable for business. Gerard de la Peña explains.
Some bus drivers started the week with violation tickets. The Interagency Council on Traffic has started with the strict implementation of the 1 meter physical distancing inside public utility vehicles. Buses deemed overloaded were charged with a 5,000 peso fine. No fines for jeepney drivers, but their passengers were asked to get off.
Doon kami sa kabilang kanto, bumaba pa kami. Ayun, bad trip. Late na ako. Alas 9 yung namin, pasok.
Here is where the confusion lies. Since resuming operations in June, buses and jeepneys were allowed to operate at 50% capacity. But this does not guarantee a 1 meter distance between passengers.
Pinag-usapan rin natin yung mga jeepney drivers na magbaba po o magbawas dahil mahirap i-tolerate yung distance na nakita natin kanina, halos balikat sa balikat na.
But transport operators say reducing passengers won't be sustainable.
Kung susundin kasi yung 1 meter, sir, wala na kaming masasakay, sir.
The PNP Highway Patrol Group said they will start apprehending violators on Tuesday. The LTFRB, on the other hand, said they have yet to come up with guidelines to take into consideration the concerns raised by transport operators.
My advice na lang din is to be on the side of caution. No? Malalaman naman din ng driver yan kung ilan. No? At more or less, he will have a sense on kung gaano kahaba yung 1 metro. Pagdating dun sa loob ng kanyang sasakyan, malalaman niya more or less kung ilang pasero ang kakasya.
For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
In entertainment, not the pandemic can stop the recognition of the best in TV in this year's Emmy Awards. Celebrities attended the award ceremony virtually from their homes, some in their pajamas. Jimmy Kimmel hosted the ceremony in an almost empty Staples Center, and he's got a new name too for the event.
Well, hello and welcome to the Pandemmys. Wow, it's great to finally see people again. Thank you for risking everything to be here. Thank me for risking everything to be here. You know what they say, you can't have a virus without a host.
Emmy history after winning all of its 7 nominations. It swept all 4 acting categories. 24-year-old actress Zendaya became the youngest winner for Outstanding Actress in the top performances for her show, Euphoria. She bested other veteran TV actresses like Jennifer Aniston, Olivia Colman, and Sandra Oh.
You think because I went to rehab, I stayed clean?
I mean, ain't that the point?
For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage onenews.ph. I'm Robbie Alampay. We are One News. Good evening.